That was truly amazing, and what a wonderful way to bring in the winter solstice. Happy Yule, everybody, and Merry Christmas to you. I'm still searching for some red berries, and I did find some hawthorn out on the property. And a nice little surprise, some paper whites just bloomed, and I'm so excited because we've lived here 4 years and they've never bloomed. I've seen the foliage come up, but the temperature must have just been perfect. Y'all, can I tell you just how happy this guy makes me? He's just so fun and funny. Of course, we had to use our Skelosaurus Rex here, and I just put a garland on him lit with bubbles and ribbons. The candy canes I got a few years ago at Target. I made his hat out of 2 Santa hats that I split in half and then glued together, if that makes sense. And then I added some straps so that I could tie it around his head and it wouldn't blow off. And it worked pretty well. These are so fun to decorate and use, and he's just got the best expressions, even though he's just talking with his eyes. But I think he looks amazing, and I can't wait to see how the grandkids react when they show up to visit. It really is quite charming, and he's got the perfect creepy Christmas vibes. On the front door patio area, I just wanted to do something natural. I picked up some more greenery and berries from around the yard. So I've got some cypress and magnolia. We have a magnolia tree. And I also added that to the artificial garland that's on the front with some pretty ribbons, pine cones. If you watched my Yule wreath tutorial, you would have remembered that I had this swag, and I had just got that green man this summer from an antique mall. He's cast iron, he's quite heavy, but he worked perfectly for the swag, so that's how I ended up using him, and I just think he turned out really nice. Overall, I just wanted a kind of old-fashioned greenery look. I didn't do any lights in the garland. I do have some candles in my lanterns out front, and that's it. Really, I just wanted it to have that sort of natural feel. Let's head on inside so I can show you guys the Christmas tour of our home. The sign is from World Market, and I added some greenery and ribbon to it. The entryway has the children's tree, and this tree has all of the decorations and ornaments the kids have made over the years since they were little. And I wanted them to have their own special tree. It's the first thing you see when you come in. Mr. and Mrs. Claus, they're vintage Anna Lee. They were a gift from my sister-in-law. It didn't have its hat, or he didn't have his hat, so I made him a new one. And then the little sack is from a Trader Joe's Grinch tree. I think you guys might have seen those. And all the little wooden ornaments I put inside the sack, just to give it that little sack of toys feel. Little salt dough heart, and I made a few of those with the kids. There's gingerbread, and we also made the Monrovian cookies, spice cookies. They smell amazing. So anything we made, we put on this little tree as well. There's a bunch of little wooden ornaments and just lots of cute things. It always makes me smile to see them bring home a Christmas ornament. And sometimes they're a little hard to work into your more formal tree if you have like a formal like family room tree. So this is a great way to do a special tree just for the kids, and it really looks charming. I did get some mistletoe from our oak tree outside, so I made a little mistletoe ball, and I have a really cute old House of Hatton felt, I think it's felt fabric wreath. It's a few years old, maybe early 90s. Up here I have another little Anna Lee doll, some ribbon, an old swag that I picked up at a thrift store and added some sleigh bells to. I really do try to find a lot of thrifted items for decor. I just prefer that look overall. It works best with our vintage vibes. But, you know, sometimes you don't find the best things. So I will make them over if I don't really care for the way they look or if they're a little dinged up. Moving into the family room, it's pretty casual. I have some things here and there to add little Christmas touches to. I do have garland on the staircase. I'll get to that in a little bit. And then we've got a million Christmas cards and creating a garland there. There's the wreath that I made in the tutorial. I added some ribbon to. If you've ever sent me a Christmas card, I probably still have it. I love to collect Christmas cards. They are one of my favorite things to decorate with. So here I've created a little snow village out of paper houses. And these houses are fairly inexpensive. Back in the day, I could not afford to buy the snow villages, and this was a good solution. And I don't put it out every year. This year I decided to. I usually just put a string of battery operated lights through them. I find that works better, and just having the one battery pack instead of trying to change out all of these little houses with the little the little ones that come with it. They just don't last very long, and it's very frustrating. And those little batteries are so hard to find anyway, the replacement batteries. And then I just added a swag garland around this oil painting. I had moved this buffet into the living room when I swapped out the piano. Every year I make a winter solstice garland out of dried orange slices, cinnamon, pine cones, and dried laurel. These are very easy to make. Just slice your oranges or tangerines thinly and bake in the oven around 200 degrees for about an hour or so. Just periodically check them and flip them over because they will burn. Just you know your oven better than I do, so make your own adjustments accordingly. One of the first embroidery projects that I did a couple years ago were all of the kids' stockings. So I have artisan mine and dad's hanging in here. And then my 3 oldest children and 6 grandchildren's stockings are all hanging on our spiral staircase. And that way I feel like they're all kind of still here with us. Sometimes they're here for the holidays and sometimes they aren't, but I do keep their stockings hung anyway. The color scheme in the family room is pretty casual with the red and the green and the blue. I've got some multicolor lights that kind of fade from blue and green to red and white on the garland. The family room's more casual, so I usually do colored lights for the kids in here. So let's head over into the kitchen and I'll show you guys what I did in there. I switched out the curtain for a more festive floral red curtain. I had this little oil painting already, just moved it over here. And, adding pillows, of course, kitchen towels are a fun, festive way to add a pop of color. My kitchen is white and green, so adding the red just works naturally and beautifully. And I change all our glassware out for the holidays, just mostly for Halloween and Christmas. And then I do a spring and fall look. But right now we've obviously got our evergreens going. I did a dried arrangement over here, hung some holly plates, and on the shelves just kept everything kind of cohesive with the green, the red, the white. I have an old teapot that I use to store tea in because it's got a crack in it, but it's still pretty. This is a Kentucky bourbon cake I picked up, and I'm super excited to try that. And this Santa Claus is a Santa that I picked up at an antique store last year. It was badly damaged. Actually, I might have got it at a thrift store. And I just repainted him, and he looks great. And I used paper clay to fix him. Paper clay is awesome, and I'll show you something else I fixed with paper clay later on in this video. I have a collection of vintage Christmas cards. The greenery is all from outside. And the little House of Hatton Santas. I collect a lot of House of Hatton. I remember working with those many years ago, and I always wanted them, so now I'm searching for them. But they're very whimsical, and they have kind of an old world look to them. Overall in the kitchen, I just kept everything with the whites and the greens. My vintage Christmas card collection is really fun. I'll show you guys some more of those. And this is a Susan Branch calendar. If you're not familiar with Susan Branch, she's an illustrator and she's got some great books. Some cookbooks up here. I did a Santa theme in this kitchen, on this side of the kitchen. I have all kinds of Santas and all different styles of Santas. I just they're always, of course, charming and cute for the holidays. Susan Branch, like I was saying, has some just really adorable books and paper products. She has calendars, notepads. It's one of my favorites. This is one of her cookbooks, and she does some really great themed cookbooks, and they're all illustrated with her illustrations, which are really charming and old-fashioned. And I love her books. I have quite a collection of her books, as a matter of fact. This picture reminds me of me and my husband. Someone told me years ago that I looked like Mrs. Claus, or I was going to look like Mrs. Claus when I got older, or Tweety Bird's grandmother. Not quite sure how to take that. Moving along on the kitchen counter here, I try to make everything fun and festive. So and of course, am a slave to my color themes. Of course, I keep a simmer pot on the stove with sliced oranges and cinnamon sticks, clove. I'll add pine branches in, and I have a gingerbread tea bag in there as well. It smells amazing. So of course, I had to decorate the top of the piano, and I put our gingerbread clock on the piano. I added a couple of vintage Fitz and Floyd stag reindeer and magnolia, greenery, dried protea, dried pomegranates, fresh oranges, and some musical instruments. Those are all old vintage musical instruments. I've got sleigh bells, tallow berry, that's local, that I foraged last year and dried. And I use, of course, the Ann Lee dolls are something I used to collect, and I don't collect them anymore, but they're very nostalgic for me, so I always bring them out during the holidays. Little Santa and reindeer with Mrs. Claus. I use most of the vintage postcards around for decor, so here's a very pretty one with holly. And then, if you remember, at Thanksgiving I made an arrangement with some lavender. I made a bouquet out of all those dried greens and added a little Santa to it. On the piano, I have some vintage Christmas sheet music, and I have it all displayed here. It's very nostalgic. We inherited this piano when we moved into the cabin. It's one of those things that people don't know what to do with anymore. If you don't play the piano, it's kind of a big cumbersome piece to have in your home. But I painted it, and I'm going to transform this into a bar at some point for the kitchen. I think that would be kind of cool. I added wooden snowflakes to those battery operated candles, and here's another one of my vintage Christmas cards. So as you know, I'm a big fan of Christine McConnell. I'm a patron on her Patreon, and this is this year's Christmas card, which is super fun. She has this little scary gingerbread man attacking her on this wreath, and really love all of her cards. That one was from last year, really pretty. She's just one of my biggest inspirations. I'm such a fan. She does such an amazing job on everything. You guys really should check her out. If you haven't yet, you will love her. I have more cards here. This one my daughter made me a few years ago, and it's very meaningful to me. I love that card. Another little vintage card. Isn't it cute? I just love Christmas cards. There's just something so sweet about them. So you remember I did it up big in the window for Halloween, and I did the same over here for Christmas. This is our winter wonderland with snowmen and snowflakes and icicles and puffy little clouds of snow. I collect snowmen. I love them. I have just so much fun with the snowman theme, and I do it different every year. As you can see, my frosted windows are holding up still from Halloween. I did a tutorial about how to do that. I think all of us just really want a wintry white Christmas, don't we? And we don't always get the snow we want. So it's fun to kind of recreate that if you can. Now, we're having a bit of a snowstorm going across the country right now, and it is so cold here. I hope everyone's doing okay and you're safe and warm wherever you are. I incorporate a lot of my snowman cards in this display. I have newer ones and vintage ones. This is a little Joanna Parker salt and pepper shaker that the mate was broken when I saw it at Home Goods, so I asked them if I could just buy the one, so they sold it to me at a discount. I love that. And this is one of my favorite first little snowmans I collected. He's a paper mache, and that card back there is one of my favorites. Like, he looks like he's sort of melting a little. I made that paper garland with Artist when she was little, and it has held up. It's going on 8 years, I think now, 8-9 years. And then the crystal snowflakes I got from Michael's website last year. I didn't ever see them in store, but I was able to find them online. And this is from It's a Charming Life. It's a card. I'm also a Patreon of theirs, and so I get a sweet little card or note from them every month, and I love that. And you guys should check them out as well. They are wonderful, and they really helped inspire me to start my own YouTube channel as well, because of just the absolute whimsy and love and charm that the two of them have. It's Lindsay and Jonas. And there's a little snowman. He's so cute. I don't always do all the snowman group together. I have mixed it up over the years. That little oil painting is a winter scene. I like using art in my or like seasonal specific art, and I don't mind changing these things out. It's really no bother at all. I mean, it is a bit of work, but it really makes my little ADHD brain happy to do it all. This is a little inexpensive cookie jar that I picked up at Goodwill, and I just touched him up, repainted him, and he's great. He's got a little nick off his nose, but that's okay. And these little trees I did with my snowman ornaments, so it's all snowman specific. I know a lot of people find crochet and doilies very old-fashioned and out of vogue, but I feel like those were someone's work and handiwork, and there's this delicate, lacy, sort of spider webby thing that I love about crochet. Speaking of work, this was a labor of love, and I am so happy with how it turned out. This piece, the sideboard, is a piece I bought from my cousin. She's been a teacher in Germany for the past 20 years, and she's moved home. And I saw this piece. She's having an estate sale with some of her European pieces. And look at this. It looks like a bat. From what I understand, this is Black Forest, turn of the century. It was damaged during the move over here back to the States. I'm going to try to replicate that bat and fix it. It could also be a fox. I know that they used to do like hunting dogs and things like that on these pieces. Some more vintage Christmas, a really sweet card, a little vintage bottle brush tree piece, and this is the cutest little gingerbread house that Mac and Artist made, my husband and my daughter. It turned out so cute. I put that on a cake base stand that I had, or a cake stand that I had, and I just removed the top. They did such a good job on this. It's just a kit, and usually Artist and I do the gingerbread house every year. I had intended to make one from scratch, and I just did not have time, so I enlisted the help of my hubby, and they did a really good job, and I really like this kit. We got this at Home Goods, and it had a plastic mold that you could attach the sides of the gingerbread house to, which I thought was such a fantastic idea, so much easier than trying to balance and stick it together. Here's how our Christmas tablescape is looking. It's not quite finished, but I think overall it's looking really pretty. You guys will get the general idea. I did a red, wine, and pink look in our formal living room, and also in the eating area of the kitchen. So I have a lot of pink bottle brush trees, some vintage Christmas ornaments and soft teals and pinks. I have holly plates, black and pink napkins. Those are all from April Cornell. and overall just really looks pretty with the sideboard vignette over there. That was a labor of love, y'all. I was up till about 2 o'clock in the morning about a month ago when I first started working on this vignette, because I just could not get those plates in the pattern that I wanted. And I wanted to do a Christmas tree, and I incorporated some sleigh bells and my copper cookie molds, and I'm really pleased with how it turned out. I have multiple personalities when it comes to my decor, and as you can see, I like lots of different looks. This is Ritual Incense from Hex. They're in New Orleans. I think they also have a location in Salem, and I picked that Yule incense up from them. And this has all of my really pretty pink vintage Christmas cards. I'll show you those. We have the Victorians to thank for our Christmas cards. They began in England, and they are some of the most beautiful ephemera you will ever find. Some Christmas cards are so elaborate, and I always love to read the backs where little notes are written to people. Miss Sadie Hines in Wisconsin. Isn't that just the coolest? It's a snapshot of someone's life, and I like reading them. But the vintage Christmas cards, the embossing work, the illustrations, the colors, I just really can appreciate that artwork. This one says, "To Teacher" from Mabel. These cards I have up in our bedroom, but I wanted to show you. And this one says, "Merry Christmas." And here's a little reproduction vintage card. Little Santa and sleigh and holly. I love holly. That's my favorite Christmas greenery. Another cool card is from Mac's friend Wolfie, and this Krampus card is actually a staged and shot theme. He made that Krampus and did like a little diorama and photographed it. Isn't that cool? I have another card of his here somewhere. I have to find it for you guys. So let's move into the living room, and I've saved the best for last here. I added our red velvet cloak from Halloween to Dandolph, and he looks so festive and fun, and a little string of stars for his cap. The Victorians always have inspired me when it comes to traditional Christmas decor. So many of our Christmas traditions are based on the Victorian era, and so I kind of paid homage to that this year. So one of my favorite projects was transforming the Grandin Road tombstone into one befitting Scrooge. I had this idea because I do love the Victorian memento mori, and how to kind of combine the spooky, creepy elements I have, but in a more elegant Victorian way. And what better way to do that than to represent a Christmas carol? So my husband and I worked on this. We created basically a new shape over the top of the original lettering, and used paper clay to create the letters and the name for Scrooge. I just painted the whole surface black. I always do black first because I want to have that black in the darkest recesses of the piece, and that helps pop everything later. It's a great way to add definition when you're working on a piece. After the paper clay dried, we painted the whole thing gray. So I repainted the entire piece. So you really can't tell that it's a new facade on the front of that. It turned out so great. And then I added the overall highlights with white paint and kind of beefed up the skeletal parts of the piece. And I actually just tried to enhance that so you would see it a little better. The original tombstone was quite gray, and it had some highlights on it, but not a lot. And so here's the finished piece. I actually attached some carpet moss that was growing out on our back porch to give it a little bit more aged effect, a few little dots of green. And I added the raven wings that I had got from Spirit Halloween a while ago. Overall, just really pleased with how that turned out. I can't wait to do that and expound on that a bit more next year. In this video, you can see how the original piece looked before I changed it. And here's our Victorian's Christmas tree and mantle. lots of candlelight. This year, I really wanted to avoid using a lot of string lights. I've used them for 30 years and I'm just kind of tired of them. So I used a lot more fairy lights and then Victorian style single candles. I got those last year at Michael's and they each hold a single battery, but they do give that kind of old-fashioned lights on the tree or candles on the tree look, but are much safer obviously than real candles. And I really do like the way they look. It's a different look and it does remind me of a more classic Victorian style. I kept the overall color scheme burgundy, wine, rose, and pink, and it works really very nicely with browns. And we have so much brown, obviously being in a cabin. I did a Victorian feel overall with everything in this room. It works very well. Here is a little bit brighter, different day, and you can see the tree a little bit better there and the mantle. Those beautiful light fixtures are actually old Italian plaster candelabra, one of my favorite things. On the tree, I incorporated all these little vintage red birds on black branches coming out from the tree. This is a great way to add a little more definition, volume, or to give your tree a little bit bigger scale if you don't have enough room for all your ornaments. Those branches really do help. I love this tree. It is artificial. I got this from, I think, Grandin Road. Yeah, I think it was Grandin Road a couple of Christmases ago. You can do this tree very sparsely or very full. Either way, it looks nice. And you can see the little close-up there on that tombstone. There's my spider again. I've got several spiders. One of my favorite stories from when I was a child is a Victorian tale of a poor family who didn't have anything, and a little family of spiders lived in the attic. And those spiders decorated their tree in the middle of the night with golden spider webs. And so I have an idea to do something with that next year. I didn't have time this year to flesh that out completely, but I am really going to work on that for next year. And on the mantle, you can see I added fresh greens to my artificial garland. There's snowflakes and vintage baubles, beads, candy canes that I've made over the years with the paper, and overall just a really pretty, softer kind of feminine look. This was probably my favorite Christmas tree I have ever done, and I really am pleased with how it turned out. Majority of the ornaments on the tree are either thrifted or vintage or handmade, and I do like creating our own ornaments, and I have some fun favorites on this tree. It's just such a pretty tree. One of my best ideas is to put a brooch in the middle of the bows, and it adds a little extra sparkle. So these are all vintage brooches that I've picked up over the years, and I'll just put them right in the middle of the bow, and it just adds another little glam to it. It's another House of Hatton Santa. My spiders are in the tree. This is a piece that I've had for years. I have 3 of those angels. I redid those. These are fun. I got these from an antique store last year, and they are so cute. I don't know the name of the person who made these, but aren't they adorable? Look at that face. So mischievous. That's our little cat ornament. I'm still missing Quinn. This is a little Scottish Santa. Got that for my husband last year. We always buy one new ornament for the tree every year. And some icicles. Another little House of Hatton Santa. I did snowflakes and birds. Kind of my favorite. So I had changed out the curtains to these burgundy velvet curtains, and on the tableau or the table I did a pink rose theme and just a few of my favorite objects, just kind of giving those Victorian vibes. One of my favorite little ideas I had was to use an old-fashioned glass Christmas tree topper as a topper for one of the decanter bottles. And I do like the decanters. It's kind of always very elegant to me. Not too much different over here. You guys have seen this before. I just added a little Christmas Santa Belle. Got our firewood. It's nice to build a fire. It's just something about having a fireplace that's so special. Added some ribbon and some more baubles to the chandelier. You've seen that before. Really, I just added a few accents over here. I have a Victorian angel. As I've told you all before, I'm not religious. I just happen to like religious iconography. And I do happen to have a fascination with the biblically accurate drawings of angels. They're so spooky and creepy to me. The movie Pinocchio was really cool. The new one that's on Netflix. The wood spirit in that movie looks very much like a biblically accurate angel. I think the director did an amazing job with that film. More spiders, more Christine McConnell spiders. This is just a stag planter. I've had that for years. My husband and I bought that. We were like, what are we going to do with this? When we had our tiny house in Carlsbad, and now here we are in this big old cabin. I just added some candles and greenery to celebrate Yule. I haven't done a Yule log before, and I do want to do that next year. Here's the family room from the other direction. As you can see, it's a lot more cheerful and casual. All the stockings that I did for the kids, I embroidered all of these. This was the first embroidery project that I've done since I was a teenager. I just added an artificial garland and put in fresh greenery, ribbon, some vintage Christopher Radko balls that kind of depict like a 1940s style Christmas on the images on the balls. This is a little tag. It's a hotel key room tag that has my son's birth date on it, 1986. I also have one I found for my daughter. And I love these ornaments. They're quite pretty. All of the stockings are different because I picked them up at different times. They all just are kind of cohesive in the color scheme. They're so cheerful. I miss my kids and I don't get to see them often. They're a bit scattered around, so it's nice to have their stockings here. In the family room, you guys have seen most of this area already. I just added a little accent here on my grandfather's piece. And I have a little advent calendar. As you can see, my daughter has grabbed every little lollipop out of there. She's just got one left. I always do a festive look for our liquor cabinet and bring out all the vintage glassware. This is the 12 Days of Christmas. I got these from Goodwill. It was only missing the first day, which I was able to find on Replacements Limited. It's funny, I paid more for that one glass than I paid for the whole set at Goodwill. But I had to have all 12, you know. Decorated the cabinet with some greenery and flowers. And that's pretty much it. I did a Santa theme. I do like the vintage Santas. They are so cute. And we're back around to our own Santa / Dandolf, whatever we want to call him. I'm still loving him. I'm going to leave him up, I think, year round. And we'll just kind of change his cloak accordingly. So that's it for the home tour. I hope you guys enjoyed all of that and that you are having a wonderful Merry Christmas with your family. Happy Yule, and I will see you in the new year. Didn't think I was going to leave without saying goodbye, did you? I couldn't end the video without saying goodbye and Merry Christmas, Happy Yule, Happy Yuletide greetings to you. Thank you all for watching my videos and inviting me into your home this holiday season. It has been so much fun creating these videos for you. And cheers. I will see you guys in the coming new year. We have a lot of exciting things planned. Can't wait to see you. Gotta pull the turkey out of the oven. Bye guys.